so that PS wanted to put some marketing money behind it and that kind of thing. But the real truth of the matter is that no one gave a shit. No one cared. And we just really had to stick to our guns in terms of, still believing in the band and knowing that if we kept pushing through by virtue of the groundswell that was developing on fan support, that we knew that we would finally get somewhere. And pretty much that's the way it went down. With every victory, we got a new supporter or got more press coverage, greater visibility of the band, better tour dates, sales started to go up, and they became this real phenomenon that the UK embraced and wanted ownership of, and that kind of led to the further, bigger picture discussions about upstreaming and this kind of thing. And now, especially on their latest record, you really see all the press and all the media and all the coverage that's coming out of the UK, and it's out of control. So that's kind of how we've done it, and that's been an MO for us, I think, in any territory that we've gone into, whether it's the US or Australia or Japan or Southeast Asia. You always try to align yourself with supporters and trying to find some synergies with other labels, etc., that share the philosophy or a like philosophy musically that you do. But more often than not, it just takes a lot of grind to develop something, and it really does start with the music and your belief as a label in it. Now for Last Gang, last summer we inked a direct distribution deal with 88 Global, and now we have a UK office with someone on the ground there kind of spearheading our initiatives. And we've kind of stopped that whole thinking of, okay, we're trying to find a licensed partner, etc. Whereas now we hire our own third parties to promote the record, whether it's at radio or in the press or online. And we have our own, obviously we try to make sure our artists are aligned with solid booking agents as well, so that when we do release a record there, we actually have an infrastructure, a touring plan, a bigger picture plan to really define the artists in that market and also define the label at the same time.
What have you sold on Crystal Castles?
Between, on the last record, for example, between the US and the UK, we've sold north of 150,000.
Next, I'm going to pass the mic to Helen Britton. The minute she opens her mouth, you'll know where she's from. Helen, as I said, is partner and vice president of Six Shooter Records, the label, and they also manage a number of their artists and some that are not on the label. Hawksley Workman is not on Six Shooter. Royal Wood is not on Six Shooter. Helen, coming from the UK, has been very interested in getting their acts over the UK since day one, and she is booking them directly, which goes against basically everything that Shane said earlier, but it's working.
Thanks. I guess my case is a bit different from these two case studies because mine's more of a label study. We have released albums in Europe. I think it's probably been about 5 years now. We've had distributors over in all the different areas of Europe. We recently moved our distribution to ADA Global, who we've known for a long, long time and kind of built a great relationship with. And actually, they distribute us for the world outside of North America. And we are primarily a kind of folk, Americana, singer-songwriter style label. So not so much in the kind of cool side, the NME. Well, these just aren't our targets. So it's not. It's a bit of a different experience. We don't need the. You got to make it the first time because you got to be new and you got to get the buzz, because it's not so much like that in more of the folk world, which is where we are. But there are a lot of opportunities in our world, and I guess the main people we've had, well, all of our artists tour over there because I send them there, and the main people that go over: Luke Doucette, Melissa McClelland, Royal Wood has been over there. Justin Rutledge. Justin Rutledge, actually, before he was on our label, his first album, No Never Alone, came out in the UK in 2004, before it came out in Canada, before he was signed anywhere in the world. He was signed to a small UK label. And although he's a folk artist, he did get some support from NME, which was kind of unusual. But the reason I started booking my artists in the UK is, first of all, it's really hard to get a booking agent over there. And I do work with a couple of booking agents on some artists. I personally like the control of doing things myself, having things happen strategically in the way I like them to work, with release dates and things like that. I think at the level that we are booking these artists, which are in smaller venues, under 100 capacity in most places, folk clubs, things like that, you don't actually need a booking agent to do that. They're all huge music fans. They're the kinds of promoters that go online and they're so passionate about folk music or singer-songwriters that they'll discover you before having you push yourselves on them. Like, they'll be the ones sending me emails, oh, I love Justin Rutledge, you know, when can he come over and play my folk club in Brighton or wherever? And I've found that from these kinds of contacts, which a lot of which I have to say have been made at South by Southwest. We always go down and do a showcase at South by Southwest, and tons of the UK promoters go over to that. Tons of the folk promoters, surprisingly, I was surprised anyway, the first year we had a label showcase at South by Southwest. And with the label showcase, and we had one of our other bands, Shout Out, 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 showcasing at the same time at a different place. I went to the Shout Out, 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 Out showcase, and my business partner went to the Six Shooter Records showcase. And she sat at the showcase for Six Shooter Records and had person after person come up and say, are you Helen? Are you Helen? Are you Helen? Do you book the UK? I want to book this band. I want to book that band. And they were all folk promoters who had discovered our artists, because I think probably a lot of them through Justin Rutledge, and discovering then Six Shooter Records, and then discovering all of our other artists, and kind of so it kind of went. So now every year we have a new signing or something like that, rather than having to send our new band like the Beauties, who we recently signed, over to the UK to showcase to these UK promoters. We take them down to Austin, all of our UK contacts, see them play, and say, yep, we want to book them next year, and it kind of sets it up ahead of time. The other great thing about the folk world is they're all very connected. All the people, all the promoters, they all kind of know each other. Once you know who the 8 to 10 people are in each city, there's one or two major kind of folk promoters in, Edinburgh or Glasgow or Birmingham or London. Once you know who they are, all you have to do is say, this is when we're coming over. When do you want them? They never say no to me. And they always manage to fit something in. They're hugely enthusiastic. They have great networks of people. They usually have built-in nights on like 1 or 2 nights a week or 2 nights a month, with a fully built-in crowd of people that like that kind of music. So you can have never toured over there before, and you've got these folk promoters who've booked you, and they will convince the audience for you that they should come and buy a ticket, and then they will buy a CD. Because they trust these promoters. They promote for all the next 3 or 4 months ahead. They'll have all these flyers in their MySpace pages and their Facebook pages or whatever, and people will sometimes just go to every Tuesday night. They'll just go and they'll buy a ticket and they'll get on board with whoever's there. And we've built up quite a nice little network to be able to do these small tours. At some point it'll hopefully be bigger than that. We'll step it up, and there are other promoters like Karina and Mean Fiddler, places like that, who I can also book with directly for bigger rooms. But eventually, this is